that's an interesting thing to talk about, the voice of goodness. I loved what you talked about this morning, Mary. Thank you so much. Because one of the main tenets Science of Mind stands upon, the first principle of our teaching, is that life is inherently good. Life is inherently good. We're not born in original sin. We're born as a blessing. This life is blessed. And it's a beautiful thing because that's the truth and we stand on that. But dang it doesn't always feel good. And the goodness that we make our standard is life. Well, my life is supposed to be like this if it's supposed to be good, right? Wrong. We can't decide. We came here to learn, to grow, to connect, to find out the importance of our soul and our connection to God and one another. So our goodness shows up in many, 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 many ways. We have to set our mind in a way that we can be open to life's experiences, because those of us, which we've all had the opportunity, but if those of us have had the courage to be broken open, because when you are broken open in the depths of pain and sorrow, that's when you touch your greatest capacity to love. I know that. That's when we touch that. That capacity within us to love so deeply is the capacity to heal. But we're not taught that, are we? We're not taught how to hurt. We're taught to fix it. We're taught we got to get over it instead of how to really be in the fullness and allness of life. When we say life is good and really mean it, it comes from a faith in us. And not a faith that's just a noun, but a faith that's a feeling. It's a confidence that no matter what is going on, no matter what challenge or obstacle or difficulty is in our life right now, it's part of a greater plan. Do you know what I mean? That there's something more going on? So often we put a period where life is just put a comma. You know, there's more for us always, but we forget that. And we're not taught very well how to move through that thing we call pain, life's challenges, the loss of a loved one, life's betrayals, the problems we face. The challenges, the loss that comes. But inside of all of that, there's a goodness and a wisdom that wants to be revealed. But how do we, when we're torn apart, broken open, can't even get the pieces back together, find that will to find what is good? Well, the ancient wisdom keepers had so much more knowledge about these things in life than we do. And I was reading a story about the Navajo tribe, and I don't know how many years ago, many, many years ago, when they were living in the high deserts of American Southwest, they experienced a devastating time. It was a time of deep drought and famine, intense heat, and really intense surrounding tribes. Yet it was the ancient ones, the wisdom keepers, that knew if those beings in the tribe could just face their hurt, could face that there's great wisdom, because our greatest pain offers our greatest strength. Have you found that? That's why we were talking about ordinary people, which we all are, doing extraordinary things. And so often it comes from those times of deep hurt and pain that we can do these extraordinary things for one person, for a family, for a community, for our world. Doesn't matter, we can do those things, but we have to be willing at those times of hurt to look for the blessing. Look for the beauty, as you talked about, Mary. We have to be willing to make a space for it. And in order to do that, we have to be open. I was thinking, because I've often joked that I have a PhD in grief and healing, because there's been so much in my life that has been a loss, deep, but there's also been that deep faith inside of me, always, that deep faith that knew there was goodness, that this was just part of something else. And I was thinking about the things I've learned from just 4 big griefs in my life, of the major things that have changed my life forever, forever, forever. When I was just a little girl, I had some major trauma that was so difficult. I really kept it tucked away for 45 years until I opened to it and it made so much more sense in my life. But that deep trauma, of course, it has an effect on you and how you live, but there's something more what it taught me. I learned about the power of compassion, and that people that hurt are hurt. They're hurting. And I learned how to step in other people's shoes when I could finally understand that and put it in perspective. And that power of compassion has guided my life. But it took that deep, deep, deep hurt to expand me to that deep, deep, expansive knowing. And then, of course, losing a beloved child that you never imagine is going to happen breaks you down to mush. But what it gave me in my life that is another guiding force is the expansive healing power for love. That love never dies, that it's always there. That guides my life. It lets me move in different ways. But love, that power, that capacity that these ancient wisdom keepers knew, resides in the pain that we feel if we let it. Then I thought of betrayal that I've had from my family, of things, my extended family, lies they've said about me, untruths, things they've done that just crushed me to the core. That allowed me to learn this power of forgiveness. I don't want to hold on to pain and anger and regret. But from this, when you know that something good has to be in there, like that little kid, the parents wanted, the optimistic kid that they put the manure in the room and the kids going to think they're going to tame their child down. That was always so happy, and the kid's looking for a pony. We're going to find something good in there. And that's an attitude we develop. It's an attitude we develop. And that truly, the power of forgiveness. I think it was Desmond Tutu, who is an African civil rights leader, a theologian, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. He said, it was either he or Nelson Mandela that said, if we truly believe that a beautiful world is possible, there's many roads to get there, but the 2 I recommend are goodness and forgiveness. And the last one, my last grief, is the most recent, and it was the loss of a beloved home and financial security and things you just think are always going to be there. And that loss has taught me the power of letting go, of not being attached to things, but to loving people and other experiences. Has taught me the power of enoughness, that we all have enough right now. We have enough. And the power of simplicity. All those things together. Would I have traded any one of those? No. Because the gifts are so big when we let them. But I have to tell you, infused in all of that, there's the power of prayer. A prayer that has to be done. And again, I don't know why the Navajos are speaking to me so strongly right now. It must be because we're getting into the time of Thanksgiving and all this. But the Navajos danced for rain. But they didn't pray for rain. They prayed rain. They became the experience of rain. They didn't pray, oh, God, give me rain, a petitioning prayer, I'll do this, I'll do. They prayed as the rain. The rain is here. They just could feel it. They could experience it. And that's the third step of our spiritual mind treatment. We know that God is all there is. We know that we are one with God, and God is good, and we're one with God. But that third step, we have to know. It's not enough to just, oh, I know it will be good. We can't do that. It doesn't work. We have to know that life is inherently good and mean it and feel it and own it and look for the blessing. Look for the goodness. That's our job. That's our opportunity. When you talked about the beauty, Mary, we move from the hurt to finding any blessing we can, to seeing the beauty, and from that comes the wisdom. And these ancient wisdom keepers knew that hurt and wisdom were two extremes of the same experience. It's where we allow our mind to be. If we train ourselves to be in the constructive part of life, good, affirmative thoughts, and allow ourselves to be honest with how much things hurt and to be open by that. You see, have you noticed that we live in a world of opposites? Swinging back and forth all the time, swinging back and forth, because nature, life, seeks balance. And we know we live in a reciprocal universe, so the law of circulation, the law of reciprocity, the law of giving and receiving. And this right now, we're entering into the darker time of year, but a time of year where we focus on giving. A week and a half away, there's Thanksgiving, when we give our thanks. And then we enter the Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa season where we give our gifts. And it really challenges, for many people, our sense of givingness. And I want to tell you somebody that's taught me the most about giving and money. And, money is a weird thing. It just is weird. It brings all sorts of triggers and things up for you have too much, you don't have enough, you have too little, am I doing that? It just brings up all sorts of stuff. If you want to hear any amazing teacher, and we've had her speak at our center, is Lynn Twist. She is a global activist, a philanthropist, a fundraiser. And I got to study with her for many weeks with Regina Houston. And she's an amazing woman, and she really talks about, and I know that's one reason that I was able to feel the power of enoughness. She talks about living, no matter, she said, if you have too little money, if you have too much money, if you're just right, it's all circumstantial, and that's not who we are. She said she went into the poorest countries in the world thinking, I'm going to meet poor people. And she learned these weren't poor people. Their circumstances were poor, but these people were whole and complete and perfect within. And she stopped putting those labels on anything. And she said, let's talk about enoughness and sufficiency and generosity. And she talks about the largest sums of money she's received have been from the people with the poorest, what you would think would be the poorest circumstances. Whether they gave, she explains one situation, if you listen to it on YouTube, I heard her talk in person. This woman in a maid's uniform that said she didn't have a bank account, she didn't have a credit card, but she loved what Lynn Twist was doing, and she put the $52 from her purse into Lynn's basket for the poor, poor that she was raising. And she said that's the largest gift she's ever received in her entire life because of the generosity of that heart. There's a story in the Bible called the widow's offering. And it was time of Passover, and lots of people in the town, and Jesus was there, and he was trying to get his head straight about some things, and he sat at the door of the temple. And they had their treasury right there. They got you on the way in. They had their basket right there with everybody watching, okay? Got you on the way in. So the basket was there. It's called their treasury. And a lot of very wealthy, generous men came in. Some even had trumpeters behind them, trumpeting as they poured their generous amounts of money into the treasury. And that was a beautiful sight. And a poor widow, dressed poorly, very humble, kind of snuck in. And she put 2 copper coins into this treasury. That would equal about 1/3 of a cent, 1/3 of a penny, 1/64 of a day's salary, a day's wages into this treasury, hoping no one would see her, and she slipped away. Jesus saw her, and he called his disciples together, and he said, that woman has given the most generous gift of anyone, and don't forget forget it. Generosity has many, many faces. Many faces. And the important thing is when we know that we are enough, whole, perfect, and complete right here. So today, as we close up this part of our day, I'm going to invite us to claim our good. Okay? Okay? We want the voice of goodness. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have you do a little something in a minute. First of all, I'm going to have you do something else first. I thought of something else I want you to do first. No, it's still good. It's not good. In fact, it's very good. But this is a feeling prayer because I want you to have a tool when you leave. And the feeling prayer, if we can think, not here, but here, if we can think of something right here, feel it, something we want in our life. It could be health. It could be more abundance. It could be the perfect partner. It could be more peace, more love. I don't know, but if we can feel it here, it means it's possible in our lives, okay? If we can feel it. So I want you right now to close your eyes. You know, open channels. We got to untangle ourselves. We got to be open and available to the good that's ever present. Remember, Ernest Holmes said there's a power for good in the universe greater than we are. We're part of it, and we can use it at any time. So we're tapping into that power greater than we are right now. And just whatever it is, whatever you know is right and true for you right now, I want you to feel it. Like pray rain, I want you to pray goodness. Just, I know abundance. I know creative expression. I know perfect love. I know peace. I know whatever it is, just know it in every cell of your being. Just know that. That's the greatest prayer you can ever, ever, ever express, is knowing it, the things you can feel, the prayers you can feel. Wow. Bring wisdom, understanding, and manifestation. And let's just seal that by saying, and so it is. You can wake up now. No more sleeping. Okay, now we got to do the part, the interactive part. I'm going to say for you, I'm making a commitment right now. I'm making a commitment that I see the goodness in each and every one of you. I will not judge. I'm sorry if I slip, but I will not intentionally do that. I see the goodness in every single person here. And I hold that, and I promise to hold that. And all I ask of you is that you see the goodness in me. And forgive me. Do not judge me. Because what I know is we are all doing the best we can with the tools we have right now in this moment. We're doing the best we can, and so is every other person. Now, we have the opportunity to get more tools and use them and practice them, of course. But that's my commitment. I see the goodness in you. I will not judge you. And I know that life unfolds in a beautiful way. I know that for each and every person here. Now I want you to make a commitment to somebody next to you and just say, I see the goodness in you and I will not judge you, and say that back and forth. Just do that right now if you can. And if you need to be 3 people, 1 person, just say that. I see the goodness in you. So as our gratitude choir is coming up again for a closing song, I'm simply going to close this with a prayer. So keep speaking. We can all speak at the same time. It doesn't matter, because goodness is contagious. Goodness is contagious. And I recognize and know that each one of us is empowered by the beautiful and wild force within us that calls us to something greater all the time. There's a power, there's a wonder, there's an amazement within us. There's that goodness that right here, right now, wants to express and be seen. And I hold that goodness for each and every one of us right here, right now, as we connect together by making that deep and abiding commitment, not to judge, but to move beyond the ideas of right doing and wrong doing and meet in that field of oneness, that field of oneness that we know we are in this journey, on this journey together, and how blessed we are. We say thank you, God, and with a deep and resounding, and so it is. God bless you all. Have a beautiful day.